Welcome to our channel US Practice Test. A lot of you have asked us what are the most asked questions during the neutralization interview and what will be asked depend on the immigration officer and your application form. However, we compile a list of most question answer based on the feedback from the actual applicants. Today we will share the 15 of the most asked civic question answers. Before we begin, I would like to remind you that you may practice the 2008 edition of the US Citizenship Test on our website, a link in the description, as well as download our app from the Google Play Store to prepare for the US citizenship exam. So let's start. First question. Why do you want to become a US citizen? Most people answer, because I want to vote or I want to run for a federal office. You probably should have an idea what federal office position you want to run for. If you answer that, other possible answers can be, I believe in the form of government of the United States, or because of the right and freedom of Americans. Second question. What is the form of government of the United States? This is another commonly asked non-official question that you should know the answer to. It's actually the first official question in the 2020 version civic test, which is no longer being used. The simple answer is republic. Don't confuse this word with republican. Republic is a form of government, and Republican is one of the major political parties in the US. Whether the political party of the current president is Democratic or Republican, the answer to this question is always Republic. Other possible answers can be Constitution-based Federal Republic, Representative Democracy, and Democratic Republic. If you are applying through marriage, the immigration officer might ask you the following questions. Have you been living with your spouse for the past 3 years? The immigration officer will most likely ask you this question if you apply for citizenship through marriage. The reason is because you have to live with your US citizen spouse throughout the process until the oath ceremony. If you are applying through marriage, it will be a good idea to bring supportive documents such as joint text transcript, the rental agreement or mortgage statement. If you have children, the immigration officer might ask you the following 2 questions. How many children do you have? On the M400 application form part 11, it says you must include all children, including children who are alive, missing or deceased, children born in the United States or in other countries, children under 18 years of age or older, children who are currently married or unmarried, children living with you or elsewhere, current stepchildren, legally adopted children, and children born when you were not married. So that's pretty much any kind of child. Then it says, provide the following information about all of your children listed in item number 1 regardless of age. So you need to include all children. That means your stepchildren, even if they are adults and they don't live with you. Second question is, what is your children's relationship to you? This question is not asking how is your relationship with your children, which could be good or bad, and that's a bit personal. This question is asking if they are your biological children, your stepchildren or adopted children. Did you register in the presidential election last year? This is a tricky question, and it's related to part 12 questions 2 and 3 on your application form. Question 2 asks, have you ever registered to vote in any federal, state or local election in the United States? I hope not. And question 3 says, have you ever voted in a federal, state or local election in the United States? The answer should be no to both questions. You should not register to vote or vote for any federal, state or local election in the US before you become a US citizen. Many states now haven't incorporated voter registration into the application for the new or renewed driver license or state ID. And some people will sometimes accidentally register to vote when renewing their driver license or ID at the state DMV. USCIS recently updated the guideline and will not penalize an applicant who unknowingly or unwillfully registered to vote. For the full updated policy, you can check out the link in the description. Next, the immigration officer might follow up and asks, well, why is that? Why didn't you register to vote? You can simply say, because I am not a US citizen yet, but hopefully soon. Next question. Do you always file your taxes? This is another tricky question. It's most important to pay attention to the immigration officer. This is the opposite of the question on your N400 application. From part 12 question 7a. There it asks, have you ever not filled a federal, state or local tax return since you became a lawful permanent resident? So the easiest way to answer this question is, I have always filled my tax since I got my green card. And it's perfectly fine if you don't file taxes for a valid reason, such as your income is below the filing threshold. One more thing to be noted, if you are applying for a naturalization through marriage, it's a good idea if you file your taxes jointly to show that your marriage is bona fide. Do you owe any taxes? Filing and paying taxes is one of the indicators to show that you have good moral character. Basically that you are a good person, which is one of the requirements to become a US citizen. So it's important to know owe any taxes before you interview. However, if you do owe taxes and don't have the ability to pay them off, make sure to have an IRS payment plan in place before the interview. Also make sure to bring the IRS payment plan and proof of payment with you during the interview to show that your account is up to date. Next question. Have you called yourself a non-US resident on any of the tax returns? This is related to the part 12 question 8 on your N400 application form. There it says, have you ever called yourself a non-US resident on a federal, state or local tax return since you became a lawful permanent resident? If you consider yourself to be a non-US resident on your tax return, you don't have to pay taxes for certain income overseas. So the answer for most of you should be no. And the reason is because you are a permanent resident and have been living in the US. Another question. Can you show me your tax return transcripts, please? Your interview notice is very generic and most likely will not mention about bringing tax return transcripts. However, we strongly recommend you to bring the tax returns transcripts. We have seen more and more immigration officers asking for them at the interview. Also, you need to bring tax return transcript, not just your tax returns. You can request from the IRS website. Next question. Do you believe in religious freedom? This is another tricky question. It is most important to pay attention to the immigration officer. This is the opposite of the question on your N400 application form, part 12 questions 14F. There it asks, were you ever involved in any way with not letting someone practice his or her religion? Remember, freedom of religion is one right in the First Amendment of the US Constitution. And it means you can practice any religion or not practice religion. So the easiest way to answer this question is, I believe in religious freedom and always let others practice their religion. The next question. Have you ever been arrested or detained by any law enforcement officer for any reason? If you had a traffic ticket, the answer should be yes. A lot of applicants might answer this question incorrectly while filling out the application form, and that's perfectly fine. Just let the immigration officer know during the interview and during supporting documents. Usually, traffic tickets will not prevent you from getting your citizenship. So there is no reason to hide it. Next question. Have you ever been an alcoholic? This is related to part 12 question 30A. An alcoholic is same as a habitual drunkard, which means Someone who drinks too much alcohol on a regular basis and it's affecting the person's judgment. So the answer should be no. And last question for today's video. Do you practice polygamy? Polygamy means being married to more than one person at the same time. And it's illegal in the US. It's related to part 12, question 30D. The answer should be no. Alright, that's all for today. Leave us a comment and make sure to be back for part 2. Thanks for watching the video.